Hello, beautiful perception trainers people. Welcome to another video. And yeah, in today's video, I want you to know that I've written a blog about everything that I'm kind of talking about in this video. But I wanted to make this video because I just feel like I need to say these things. That there are some things out there in the spiritual world that I feel like a lot of people are getting caught on, and I just want to talk about them and express a point of view that might help you if you're getting caught in this paradox, duality situation, and if you're caught in a resistance to self-love, and if you're caught in a resistance to understanding yourself, and if you're caught in any of the paradoxes that we're going to talk about in this video, to help kind of move you forward. Because we deserve to move forward. We deserve to make progress. We deserve to have clarity. And when we're struggling and we're stuck in all these things, sometimes we just need a little permission to move past the spiritual doctrines and the teachers and the teachings that are out there right now that aren't satisfying. So the first thing that I really want to talk about again is this idea that the self is an illusion. This has been a spiritual teaching that's been taught forever and ever and ever. And I know that I'm being completely heretical by saying that that teaching is not fully true, that there is something more than that. But it is the reality. And we need to accept that it's the reality. Because, again, to sit there and to awaken to the fact that you don't exist requires that you then have to deny and reject a whole lot of reality in order to keep believing that story. And what this desire of telling ourselves that we don't exist is really rooted in is a fear of how complicated life actually is. A fear of having to understand paradox that is more complex than the dualistic worldview, black and white, yes and right, yes and no, right and wrong view that we currently feel only that we are capable of having. And also because a lot of us have a lot of pain and shame and very much correlate our pain and our suffering in this life with being a person, being who we are. We've been shamed, we've been blamed, we've been rejected, we've been not loved, we've been deeply wounded through the experience of being a self. And so for most people who really identify with this teaching that the self just doesn't exist, you can trace back their thinking and trace back their history and see they came upon that idea and they want that idea to be true mostly because they have never learned to reconcile being themselves in this life and learning to love who that is, even though they have been externally rejected and told by the world that they're not allowed to be who they are. That's mostly why we do this, okay? So the real truth is we are all one, absolutely. That is true reality. There is no actual separation in the sense of there's no such thing as me doing something that doesn't have a ripple effect to the whole of reality. So not just humans, not just the Earth, not just the Milky Way galaxy, not just our universe, but everything that's in existence. Me as an individual am intricately tied into all that is. And my individual perception can be narrow to the point of just what I'm experiencing, or I can expand it to include the perceptions and perspectives of the things around me, and this is what we call higher wisdom, or talking to God, or channeling an alien, or whatever the spiritual community that you're in calls it. When we are tapping into perspectives that are larger than our single individual perspective, we are proving to ourselves that we are not just our individual self, that we as an individual self are connected to all other perspectives. And at the same time, we are an individual. At the same time, these two concepts exist simultaneously. You don't have to choose between the two. And this is what we need to start to understand, that when we start to bump up against ideas in the spiritual world and existential crises that we're having in ourselves, where we're looking at which of these two answers is right, most of the time, the answer is both are correct. Now, how can I figure out how these two things simultaneously coexist? Because the people who say it's all one are right. Their perspective is correct. That's a vantage point. That is a way we can view reality. Just the tapestry. We can look at the whole thing as one thing and say all these individual threads are really just the one thing. We can look at the body and just say it's just the body. It's one unit. It's one tapestry. It's one unit. One. That is a correct perspective. Or we can look at it and say there are many threads in this tapestry, and each one of these threads is an individual thread. We can look at the body and say there's individual cells, individual atoms, individual organs, individual parts that make up the body. We can say the tapestry is made up of individual threads, individuals. We can say the body is made up of individual parts. That is also a correct perspective. They exist simultaneously. We are equally all one and individuals. Both perceptions are correct. But when we try to use one perspective at the expense of the other perspective, we are then cutting ourselves off from an aspect of reality. And that is going to cause confusion. That is going to cause dissonance, cognitive dissonance. It's going to cause pain, because any amount of reality that we are rejecting, that we are trying to simplify, make smaller than it actually is, we are cutting ourselves off to spite our face. We are making things harder for ourselves because we, again, believe that we want to simplify reality to match our current understanding, rather than saying, if I'm struggling to understand something, I need to develop my cognitive capacity, my awareness, to be bigger than it actually is, to facilitate the complexity of reality, because reality is complex. It is not one or the other, it's both. So you are at once an individual thread in the tapestry that is connected to all of the tapestry. You are an individual thread in the tapestry that has access to the perspectives of the individual threads around you. You can tune into different perspectives because they're ultimately part of who you are, and you are part of it. And again, we have to understand this concept that consciousness is arising humans are arising within consciousness. Consciousness is not arising within humans, okay? This is a big thing to understand. If you can wrap your mind around, humans are arising within consciousness. Consciousness being the tapestry, consciousness being all that is. And that is infinity. That is something that we really can't understand. It's difficult to describe because it's indescribably large. It's so complicated. It's everything. It has no beginning. It has no end. It's all everything that's ever been and that ever will be. Right? Very large. That is what consciousness is. It's everything. And consciousness is life. It is evolving. And we can even understand that death is not separate from life. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is a part of life. Death is included in the all that is. So if we can start to see that, again, life is not just that which is growing and changing and evolving, but that the death process can be a part of that evolution, is a part of that growing, changing, evolving, and dying and expressing. You see, it's complicated. It's complex. These two things exist simultaneously, the self and the whole. Death is a part of life, and rejuvenation is a part of life. And as we can start to understand these things, we can start to see that ultimately what life wants is to evolve. Sometimes that evolutionary process requires a death, because ultimately that which died didn't actually die. Okay, so anything in nature that's not successfully surviving. So what that means is anything in nature that isn't aligning with how reality functions and therefore able to get its needs met so that it can continue to grow and change, evolve, and expand. Yes? A tadpole becomes a frog because the needs changed. The environment changed, and that tadpole adapted to be living in the water to come out onto the land. Anything that was in the water, that maybe the food supply ran out or something like this happened, and they weren't able to mutate, they weren't able to change, evolve, to become more complex so as to get their needs met in a new way that aligned with how reality was at the time, died. But that energy that was that thing that didn't evolve, didn't just go nowhere, it cycled back into something else. So it was fed back into life and became something that then had the potential to become something that was going to evolve. So again, if we're not going to evolve, this incarnation, this piece of the tapestry that we currently represent, dies. But that energy, what we are, doesn't go anywhere. It is recycled back into a new form that then has the potential to be something that aligns with life and expands life. So the tadpole becoming the frog, becoming the new thing, expanded life. Life rewarded that with more life, a longer life. You see? Anything that's in reality, that's working with reality to evolve itself, changing itself to align with the reality, the structure of reality itself, to be able to meet its needs within the actual reality that exists through evolution, so being challenged, the needs that we have not being easily met in the environment we're currently in. Therefore, we need to either evolve and learn how to get our needs met in a higher, more complex way, or we resist that, stay being how we are, our needs don't get met. That is the two ways that we go. So the structure either becomes more complex through learning to meet its need in a new way, in a higher way, in alignment with how reality is functioning, or it doesn't and it dies, but either way, it technically lives, because that energy will simply become something new that can then choose to evolve or choose not to, and reality is learning from this the whole time. Okay, that didn't work, that's not a part of life, so try again in a different way. Okay, that didn't work, so that's not a part of life, try again in a different way. Reality is learning about itself through all of the failures, through all the things that didn't work. Now we understand, okay, well, that's not how reality works. That's not how reality works. That's not how reality works. That's not a part of the structure and nature of reality. Anything that evolves and is successfully evolving, successfully getting its needs met, successfully becoming more evolved, more complicated, more complex, bigger, larger, faster, stronger, is how reality works. And then it adds to the tapestry. So either way, it's life. We as consciousness, we as individual consciousnesses, then have the free will at this point. So humans arising within consciousness, humans arising within this evolution of all that is discovering itself, becoming more and more complex, right? Humans are the next evolution of what is on Earth. We are the most complex thing. We have evolved to this point. We all can trace our cells and our roots back to the original cell. We are a result of the entire evolution of consciousness up till this point. And we see that, right? We see all of our ancestors in the rocks, in the trees, in the plants, in the animals, in the ocean, in the air. That's all our ancestors. That's what we were before. Those are the bits of consciousness. And this is why we can start to say, time doesn't exist, where it's all happening right now. Everything exists simultaneously. But we can say, if we want to look at it linearly, we as human beings are the next evolution. We are the most complex, meaning we have the complexity to be aware of and align ourselves with a much higher version of true reality than something less complex than us. So again, the level to which you are capable of evolving and expanding is based upon your base level of awareness and capacity as whatever you are. So a lion doesn't have the complexity, the base complexity, to become as fully aware of how life works as a human. A lion can eat an antelope, which is technically against the laws of life. A lion is not going to live forever doing that because it is destroying itself slowly through rebelling against the laws of nature, the laws of reality. Not the laws of nature, but the laws of ultimate reality, that we are all one, that you cannot destroy something to benefit yourself. You can only destroy yourself through destroying something else. So a lion is learning that lesson through being a carnivore. And it does not have the requisite complexity to not do that. So it will live that life, and then it will die, but the energy that was in that lion now knows that and evolves to become, will reincarnate to become something new. That energy doesn't go anywhere. It goes back into the soil, and then that soil becomes the things that the antelope eats, and then the antelope eats it, and it's all an evolution. So humans are where we're at, and we have the complexity that we have to understand paradox, to understand higher levels of how the structure and nature of reality actually works. And we have pain when we rebel from the complexity we are capable of understanding and living within. We do not have pain for the complexity we are not capable of understanding and living within. And that is the next thing we got to understand. We do not suffer for not living in alignment with the truth we're not complex enough to understand. So there are much, 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 much higher laws and structures and forms of the universe that we are not complex enough to even know or see or understand, and therefore we have no awareness of it. We don't have pain for not living in alignment with it. We don't have pleasure for trying to find it, because it's just nothing to do with us. We only have pain for the things that we are capable of understanding and then that we can align ourselves with. So the pain in our lives is through our misunderstanding of that which we are capable of understanding as this next level of consciousness. We are arising within consciousness. We as a humanity can choose to off ourselves. We can choose not to expand. We can choose to stay in our little boxes. We can choose to stay in our dualistic thinking. We can choose to stay in whose perspective is right instead of how do we unite these two perspectives to see a bigger truth. We can choose to continue to say, if something is hurting me, I'm going to keep doing it because eventually it's going to work. We can choose to keep denying our pain, choose to keep denying true pleasure. We can choose to keep being in consensus reality. And we can off ourselves And that's fine, because reality, consciousness, will continue on without us. Or we can decide as individuals with complex enough understanding that we are starting to have free will. We are not animals. We are not plants. We are not simple enough that we are just running on instinct. We are a consciousness level that now has the choice. Am I going to align with life? Or am I not going to align with life? That is a unique thing within human beings. We get to make a choice. We're not instinct. We can deny our pain. We are complex enough to deny our pain and to deny our pleasure and to have consensus reality pain and consensus reality pleasure. We are complex enough to trick ourselves. We are complex enough to make a choice. Am I going to keep doing this thing that's ultimately painful but that I have convinced myself is right? Am I going to continue to reject and deny aspects of reality that I don't understand to try to fit reality into my little box? Or am I going to say, okay, there's clearly a bunch here that I don't understand. I'm in pain because I don't understand it. I'm in existential dread because I don't understand it. I have anxiety, I have depression because I don't understand who and what I am and I don't understand what reality is. And I'm going to choose to learn. That's our free will. We don't get to decide what the consequences of our actions are. That's reality. So us going and murdering somebody, we don't get to decide if that's good or bad, if that's in alignment or out of alignment with reality. That's out of alignment with reality. That is going to harm you. There is no way of getting away with murder, not in real reality. When you do something that's out of alignment with truth, you suffer. When you do something that's in alignment with truth, you have pleasure. That's the part, that's the determined part. You don't get to decide the consequences of your actions. You get to decide the actions that you're going to take. You get to decide what you're going to do with the consequences of your actions. Are you going to learn from the consequences of your actions? Because that is what grace is in reality. Grace is nothing is the make or break decision. Nothing. Reality moves slow enough, manifestation moves slow enough that we are continually slowly manifesting the results in our life. And we can start to become more and more sensitive, more and more attuned to, I just did this thing and it feels like pain. So what's out of alignment here? I just did this thing and it feels like pleasure. What was in alignment there? What did I just learn about myself and what did I just learn about reality? That's the free will choice to evolve. I am not going to stay as I am. I'm going to continue to learn from every single action that I take. Is this more in alignment with life or is this less in alignment with life? And pain and pleasure will let me know. And I am going to also know that there is a lot that I don't know. There's a lot that I don't see. A huge part of evolution and being in alignment with life, as in choosing to be something that is going to be learning, growing, changing, evolving, and expanding through learning, growing, changing, evolving, and expanding versus through the death cycle, is saying I'm constantly going to be having to interact with that which I don't know. I'm going to have to be constantly learning something new, constantly coming into new awareness. And that means that if what I'm doing right now is causing me pain, that doesn't mean there's no solution. If I don't know what else to do, that doesn't mean there isn't anything else to do. That means I need to expand my perception, expand my awareness. What I'm doing isn't currently it, but that doesn't mean that there isn't an it. That just means that I am not aware of it right now. And by letting go of what I think the answer is, I'm making room for an answer which I've never seen by allowing ourselves to go into the unknown. Okay, I don't know, but I'm open. I'm open to seeing that which I don't see. I'm open to knowing that which I don't know. I'm opening my mind. I'm making the conscious choice that I'm admitting I don't know what I don't know. And I'm opening myself to know the new thing. You will see. So ultimately, the point of this video, the self that you are, is here to be evolved and expanded. And as you evolve what you are as a self, you are as an individual that has never been before and will never be again, you expand everything. Because remember what we talked about at the beginning of the video. You are a thread within the tapestry. The tapestry wants to continue to evolve. So if you evolve yourself as the thread, the one thing of the tapestry you have control over. So think of it like that. You are not in control of any of the other threads. You can't make any of the other threads evolve. You can't make any of the other threads degrade. You don't get to choose what the other threads are going to do. The only piece of reality you have control over is yourself, the thread that you are. So if you choose to evolve yourself, because you are inherently one with the entire tapestry gets bigger through you getting bigger. You expand the tapestry in the only way you are capable of expanding the tapestry, by expanding yourself. You trying to expand the tapestry, the threads around you, doesn't expand the tapestry, because the threads around you might decide not to. They could decide to degrade. And then what happened? They didn't expand. You didn't expand because you were focusing on them instead of focusing on yourself. And then the tapestry didn't expand. Nobody did their job. This is the point of self-love. This is the point of awakening. This is the point of all spiritual practices. If you are trying to become something other than yourself, if you are using your spiritual practices to get rid of your neuroses, your self-sabotaging behaviors, your coping mechanisms, to become a yogi, or whatever you think a yogi is supposed to be, a cleanse person, a martial artist, a spiritual person who knows love and light and is just love and light all the time. If you are trying to become a caricature, if you are trying to get rid of parts of yourself, if you are not seeing that who and what you are right now and all of your actions are a part of you, no matter how destructive they may seem at this time, that is the only way you are learning how to, know how to get the needs that you have met. You are working to destroy yourself because you believe there's something wrong with you. That is all the stuff we need to address through self-love. Because again, the one thing that's going to feel good, true pleasure in this life, is learning how to expand that which you are. That which you are is fundamentally what you are right now, with all your neuroses, all your self-sabotage, all the things you're not. Who and what you are right now is it. That's the thread that you are. All your pain is a message for what is alignment and what is out of alignment, what is truth, what is not truth. All the places where you've been rejected and you've learned to reject yourself, that's a part of your story. That's a part of the learning. That's a part of the death cycle. You're seeing that to continue to reject yourself, to continue to try to fix yourself, to continue to use your practices to try to change who you fundamentally are, hurts. There's pain. You never become the person you want to become. You're never spiritual enough. You're never cleansed enough. You're never whatever enough. The amount of love and acceptance and approval you get from the outside never works. Because ultimately, you expanding the tapestry of life, the only way you can be a part of evolution is to fully embrace what you are and to evolve that. And that requires that you don't make changing into something new mean that you were wrong, bad, and stupid before. That means you embrace the fact that you're traumatized. There's a bunch of stuff you don't know. Things happen to you that you don't understand. People told you this is how life worked. You went and did that and it didn't work. It caused pain. It didn't get you the results you were looking for. People around you don't know. It means you're gonna have to admit that you don't know. There are a lot of things you're not aware of. It means you're going to have to see that your sabotage, your coping mechanisms, your neuroses, everything you think is wrong with you is just this is how you're getting your needs met. You don't understand what your needs are. You don't understand the way to get them met in a higher way. But you're never going to get rid of those parts of yourself. You're either going to learn what they're trying to get, learn what they need, and figure out how to get that met within reality, right? Like the tadpole and the frog. There was no more food in the water. So the frog or the tadpole evolved to be on land where there was food. And in the process, it became more complex. So you currently have needs. You're in the water. You're never going to get rid of that need. But where you're going to get that need satisfied isn't doing it. That is what your self-sabotage is. That is what your coping mechanisms are. That is what your neuroses are. You're trying to get your needs met in a place they don't exist. You're not capable. No. That environment that you're in, the way you're trying to get your need met, is unsatisfactory. The tool doesn't work. That environment doesn't work. The way you're trying to get your need met doesn't work. You're trying to deny that you're hungry. Instead of saying, I'm hungry, there's no food here, I need to learn to become stronger and different so that I can go somewhere else to where the food is. That is what evolution is. Your needs are not being met where you are. You have neuroses, you have self-sabotage, you have pain, you have coping mechanisms because you're trying to exist in a reality that doesn't satisfy you. And in order to transition to a reality that does satisfy you, you have to become more complex. You have to evolve. You have to understand your need. You have to admit that you have that need. And you have to start to say, okay, this isn't where I'm going to get it met. I don't know how I'm going to get it met, but I expand my awareness to see that it's okay that I have this need. Because you have been shamed probably for having that need. You have been told you're wrong and bad and stupid for wanting that. You've been told it's bad. It makes you evil. All of these things. We're all ashamed of who we are and what we want to express, what we want to consume. But the evolution, the whole point of life, the whole point of our practices, cleansing, meditating, yoga, martial arts, spiritual books, all of these things, the point of it is to fortify us, to help us understand what we need, to help broaden our awareness that we want what we want for a good reason. We need what we need for a good reason. We're not getting it met in the environment that we're in. So what do I need to do to expand myself out beyond the limits that I have been told exist so that I can become the frog? I can evolve to be able to be on land, and all my tadpole friends will be like, you look different. You're weird. You're not doing what we're doing. You're not coping. You're not eating garbage. You're not doing all the things that we're doing to try and survive in the water. You look totally different to us, and it's not attractive, and we don't like that. All of that's going to happen. Your practices need to be there to fortify you to be able to do that. So I can stand here and say, there are a lot of people who don't like how I look. There are a lot of people that don't like how I talk. There are a lot of people who don't appreciate I don't make them comfortable. I am saying what everyone else was doing didn't work for me. And that scares the shit out of people. We all want to hear that what we're doing is right. We all want to hear, no, it's working for me. It's working for you, right? It's working for you. Yeah, it's working for you. Okay, it's working for me too. Yeah, we're all happy. It's all great. Yay, yay, yay. We're all happy. We all want to hear that. But then when we all go away and we're by ourselves and we have existential dread and we're depressed and we're anxious and we're scared and we're like, holy shit, I don't know, and we're in total pain, it's because we're not willing to admit we don't know. I was willing to admit I didn't know. And I went off and I'm doing a whole different thing. And like I said, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't think it's attractive. They don't want to look like me. They don't like that my hair is thin. They don't like that my body is thin. They don't like many things about me. I have been told that I'm ugly and stupid and stop touching your hair, and I get it. Because I represent so many things that people don't want to have to believe is real about reality, which is that what we're doing isn't working, and that trying new and different things is the way, and that what it looks like to be in alignment isn't what everyone else is doing, and that we're going to get rejected, and that we're going to look different. We're going to look like a freaky frog instead of like a tadpole. And like I said, the practices should be there to help you say, okay, I'm willing to do it anyways. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to be convincing myself that it's fine because I agree with everyone and everyone agrees with me. And we're all in agreement. And let's just normalize our pain. It's fine. Everyone's depressed. Everyone's overweight. Everyone's struggling. It's just normal. That's fine. No, it's not. No, it's not. If we're in pain, there's something better. We need to evolve. It's not normal. Right? Just because it's common doesn't mean it's right. And this is the point. You are here to evolve yourself. No one is going to be able to tell you how to do that. There is no spiritual check mark of doing all the right things in the day. You can be someone who meditates, practices yoga, cleansing diet. You're like so on it and doing everything right, but you're not facing yourself. You're not learning about yourself. You're not expressing yourself. You're not becoming more of yourself. You're using your practices to avoid being who you're here to be. You're obsessive about your food, and you're obsessive about meditation, and you're obsessive about all these things because it's your protective mechanism against becoming the CEO of the company that you want to become, against becoming the mother you want to become, against leaving the marriage you don't want to be in, against whatever, whatever. That's not the point. Your spiritual practices are then not spiritual. They're just a distraction. You want to tell yourself that yourself doesn't exist, we're all just one? You're missing half of reality. You're not doing your part to expand all that is. You're not expanding the tapestry. By rejecting who and what you are rejecting everything because you are a piece of everything. So to tell yourself you're not a self is a denial of reality. It's not true. And it's a rejection of everything. Because again, you can't reject yourself and accept the world. That's not a spiritual perspective. That's a half perspective. You can't say it's just me and what I do doesn't affect anyone else and it's just me. No, if you're truly learning about yourself, if you're truly working from true pain and true pleasure, if you're truly learning who and what you are, you may disrupt the out of alignment systems of consensus reality that you're in, right? You stop buying your alcoholic boyfriend beer and he gets mad at you. You stop participating in codependent relationships. You stop supporting industry that is harming the planet. You check out of things and people don't like that. But ultimately, you're going to discover the more you actually tune into what is right for you, the more you become aware of how what you actually desire is what's best for everything and everyone. You are going to start to see it's a natural progression. You won't have to try to become an environmentalist. You will naturally do that. You won't have to try to become someone who cares about humanity and human rights. You will naturally do that. Because again, as you understand yourself, you are going to start to understand how you are one with everything. There is absolutely no such thing as benefiting yourself and destroying another. It will literally be in your best interest to do what is best for everybody, including having the uncomfortable conversation, getting out of the shitty relationships, checking out of the unhealthy ways of living that make everyone comfortable in their death. Hospice, you won't be able to be a hospice anymore, but you will be able to be life generating. And that's ultimately, those are the humans that are going to survive. The ones that aren't going to just go along with consensus reality because we all just want approval from each other. The ones who are not willing to sacrifice true life for approval from others. That is the point. You are one with everything. You being you is how you expand us all. You rejecting you is how you kill everything. You have control over you. Your practices are there to help you become who you are, to do what you came here to do. They are not the end. They are a means to an end. That is the point. You are here to be you. You are here to be you. No one else is going to approve of it unconditionally. You have to learn to do that. That is your true path. That is the goal. Continue to learn to approve of yourself. Consensus reality is probably going to hate it. There's going to be parts that love it, parts that hate it. It can't matter. Follow true pain and true pleasure. Learn what true pain and true pleasure is. Read the blog. Join the mystery school. That's what we're doing in the mystery school. Okay? That's the whole point of this. Become yourself. You are here to become yourself. I love you. Talk to you later.